Listen, those of you that still aren't reading Kagurabachi are starting to legitimately piss me off because it is that good. Please stop sleeping on this manga. It is the next big thing, and the art, oh my god, the art in the latest chapter, the moment in the latest chapter, it is insane. And let's just get into it. All right, so chapter 74 of Kagurabachi picks up right where chapter 73 left off, with Samura receiving a phone call on the night that Chihiro's father was killed. On the other end of the phone, it says, Rokuhira's home has been invaded. Kunishige has been murdered. They stole all of the enchanted blades, so the sword bearers are in danger. Come to HQ with the bodyguards we sent. They'll be there momentarily. Samura hangs up the phone, and that's when he sees that Yura has stepped inside his house, having just slain the aforementioned Kamunabi bodyguards. So Samura just says, "You." And Yura says, "Remember me, huh? Long time no see, Samura." And Samura says, "So you're part of an organization, and you killed Rokuhira, didn't you?" And Yura says, "Yeah, we're called the Hishaku." And Samura says, "And now you're here to kill me, I imagine? Kill the sword bearers?" And Yura says, "Yep, and we've already disposed of one. So we've met our quota. We've got limited manpower after all. So I'm here to negotiate with you, Samura, about the future." And Samura says, "And if I don't cooperate, you'll kill me, right?" And Yura says, "Yeah, but you'll cooperate. The impending catastrophe is near." And Samura says, "Screw that and your prophecy crap. The seal on the Sanuchi is plenty strong to keep it stable. It was fine the way it was until you stole it. You're the ones who are trying to unleash the next malediction." And Yura says, "Not exactly. And how can you be so sure that it will remain stable?" Yura continues and says, "That small country's been sealed off, but the flowers the Sanuchi caused to bloom still persist. They're pure spirit energy. Were the battle truly over, they'd disappear. So those flowers are proof that the Swordmaster's bloodlust has never waned after the war. The Sanuchi and the Swordmaster already once shattered everything we imagined possible. They could shatter your faith in this stability at any time, too." And Samura is just speechless, and Yura says, "That possibility has always existed." Yura then continues and says, "But instead of eliminating that possibility, you sword bearers deny the danger and just go about complacently living your lives, hiding the truth. That is your sin." And Samura thinks to himself, he knows. He even knows about what happens when the contracts break. Yura then says, "My goal is to execute the Swordmaster and wield the Sanuchi myself. It was the Swordmaster who caused the true realm of the Sanuchi to manifest as the malediction. Thus, my goal would in fact serve to end the malediction." He pauses for a moment and says, "Your daughter's no longer here?" Samura says, "Being with me was only hurting her." And Yura says, "I was hoping to have another pawn with us to help kill the Swordmaster. But for the sake of the future, Samura, I'll give you one chance to atone for your sins." And Samura thinks to himself, I don't quite understand his true intent here. But I know one thing. Nothing good can come from allowing them free reign with the enchanted blades. But it's true. Even if I resist and kill him, this won't be over. That possibility did always exist. Yura then says, "Saichi Samura, let's end this menace together." You then just get an all-black panel that just shares Samura's thoughts, which are, we need to eradicate them from the root to look toward the future. We should have just executed the Swordmaster to begin with. There's no point in life anyway, when I cause nothing but misery to those closest to me. We then cut to Iori's perspective, where she narrates that about 3 years after my father left me with my aunt, word got out about Kunishige Rokuhira's death, and the Kamunabi started monitoring me. We then see a couple of people come up to her and they say, "Sorry, but you could be in danger." And she thinks, "Because I'm Saichi Samura's daughter." We then cut 6 months later and we see that Iori is now in a school when Ro of the Masumi approaches her and he says, "Hey, we work for your father. You'll need to come with us." And she goes, "My father?" Rose says, "We'll be overriding every trace and memory of Iori Samura. You'll live an ordinary life with a new identity." And she says, "What?" And he says, "Starting now, you're no longer Saichi Samura's daughter. I know it's been hard." We then see Iori think back on all of the awful things she went through when she lived with her dad, the relentless bullying and the graffiti, and she thinks, as Saichi Samura's daughter, I dealt with slander and violence. As Saichi Samura's daughter, I was a prisoner. But then she starts thinking about the positive memories and says, "But I also got to be with my dad. And I also got to see my mom's last smile. She then opens up a little note and it says, "I'm sorry I caused you nothing but pain." We then cut back to the present, picking up in the moment where Chihiro and Double H just had their little elevator duel where Chihiro cut Double H down, and Iori has now fully remembered everything. And Ro clocks this and he thinks, unbelievable, she's completely destroyed the seal. We then suddenly see that Toto has appeared, and she rushes over to Double H and teleports the both of them nearby to somewhere else on the rooftop. So they're still there, but they just kind of moved from right next to the elevator where they were. And Double H says, "My sword softened the blow, so the wound's shallow. I can still move. I don't need any treatment. Just get the enchanted blade." Toto says, "We have it, but..." And then she gets cut off by the Masumi looking at Chihiro and says, "Hey, I'll handle them. You go help Iori." And we see Iori look back at Ikura, her classmate from school, and she says, "Thank you so much for coming." We then cut to this full page panel of Chihiro rushing over to her and the two of them fending off this swarm of guards that are approaching them. And Ikura is like, whoa. And Chihiro says, "Did Mr. Samura teach you how to sword fight?" And Iori says, "Yes, it's my first time with a real blade though." And Chihiro's like, "What?" And she says, "As long as I close my eyes, I'm good. I don't have to see the blood." And Chihiro's like, "What?" And then we see Iori start to think to herself, and she flashes back to when she was a little girl training with the sword. And she's thinking, if I can get stronger, if I can just get strong enough to send all of the bad guys flying away, then maybe I can stay with my dad. Iori then opens her eyes and sees Samura's owl in the sky. And she says, "Is that my dad?" And Chihiro says, "Yes." And she says, "Is he watching us?" And Chihiro says, "Well, if the seal is broken, then Mr. Samura must be remembering you too now. But he can't come and find you because he's on a mission." And Iori thinks to herself, "Yeah, he's on his way to kill the contracted sword bearers. I remember it all now." Iori then says, "So it was meaningless. No matter how much I struggled, my feelings just could never reach him." And Chihiro is thinking back to two separate memories right now. The first one is something Ro said to him, which is, if you draw the Inten, Mr. Samura might try and kill you. He then thinks back on what Shiba said to him, which was, he went easy on you the first time, but if he kills you again, Samura will keep the Inten next time. We then see Toto hand Double H his enchanted blade, and she says, "If you draw this, Samura will know. Even with proper technique, you're covered in wounds." And Double H says, "Either way, Chihiro's gonna draw. And besides, I'm not letting it in this way." And Toto says, "Samura was already forced to cut him down once. He's resisted using it for this long. Why would he now?" Chihiro then looks at Iori and says, "It wasn't meaningless." He then thinks back to something else that Ro had told him, which was, you need to hone your swordsmanship to achieve greater heights with the enchanted blade. And Chihiro then rips off his glove with his teeth and says, "You can reach him now." Iori then thinks back to a moment she had with Chihiro in the hotel the night before, where he had told her, "You just need to figure out what you want." And she says, "Even if it's just for one moment, I want to see my dad." We then get this full page simultaneous unsheathing of the enchanted blades from Double H and Chihiro. And as soon as they do this, we start seeing black feathers start to fall. And this two-way duel just became a three-way standoff as we see Samura draw his as well. And the final page is this gorgeous full panel image of Samura lording above the battlefield with these insane wings as we see these blades get drawn. Absolute cinema. Are you kidding me? And yes, we already have art of this. Artists are going crazy as usual. And oh my god, dude, I did not know Sephiroth was in this manga. This goes so hard. The art, I'd say this almost every chapter, the art is so good in Kagurabachi. These moments that he builds up to, it's not only just the aura, right? But there's so much meaning in this too. He just freaking shows up over the battlefield. His daughter's there. Like, oh my god, dude. I just give me the next chapter already. What the hell is about to happen? I unfortunately got to keep this one brief for now, but I had to get this out because of how amazing it was. But one thing I wanted to say is obviously this was an incredible chapter, but I loved the insight from Double H that he knew Chihiro was about to draw that sword. He's such a good villain. Let me know y'all's thoughts and join the Discord. Come chat with us there.